Preparing for this episode, I felt like a coach strategizing for a championship season. Just like any good playbook, this one's got a few unexpected plays. We're going to dive into the world of sports, but not just for the scores and highlights. Think of this episode as a deep dive into the money ball of sports sustainability and the King Richard of personal inspiration. Now you must be thinking, wait, isn't this podcast about offering entrepreneurs a new way to think about their business to marry purpose with profits? It absolutely is. So you have to trust me on this episode too. Today, let's talk about the need for groundbreaking sustainability initiatives in the sports industry and some examples of environmental goals that are changing the game for the industry as a whole to make it a more responsible one. I'll also take you through my playbook, which is the how of what I do. This is especially for the entrepreneurs in the house, so you can implement the same for your business. I'm Jani Srivastav, and you're tuned into the Lock, Stock, and Barrel podcast. Stay tuned because this game is just getting started. Just like a perfectly executed googly in cricket can change the game, sometimes a shift in perspective can reveal fascinating connections. Take Formula One, for instance. Fans like me across the globe are gearing up for the new F1 season, and in the process, we are glued to the pre race chatter. If you're one, then you know that especially this year, the conversations aren't just about lap timings, they're heavily focused on a serious push towards sustainability. Did you know they're aiming for net zero carbon emissions by 2030, with a 13% reduction already achieved since 2018? And the Bahrain International Circuit generates over 5 million kilowatt hours of clean energy. Did you know that? That's a real home run for environmental responsibility, would you say? This focus on sustainability obviously resonates deeply with me, but it's even more special for me because my own journey into sports wasn't exactly a straight shot. You see, growing up, along with swimming, my world was all about dance and the performing arts. So think less backhand and drop shot and more abhinay and plie. But hitting modesty right out of this LTB stadium, I'd like to humbly say that I've always been an excellent team player. And as an extension of that, I'm always ready for my perspective to be expanded. So, sports has always been a background score in my life for sure. As we are a family that follows major sporting events through the year, I was always surrounded by true sports buffs. I'm always being enlightened on the tactical nuances and passionate dedication that fuels every sport we watch in the house. I also think my time at Berkeley also fueled my inclination towards sports a lot, where I not only witnessed the Golden State Warriors in their golden era in 2014 and 2015, but also worked out alongside a few in the Cal Gym. I was simultaneously a member of the Berkeley Journal of Entertainment and Sports Law, through which I had the opportunity to work alongside some of the finest Bay Area industry experts on legal issues that impact the global sports and entertainment industries. So, charged with this background, when my cousins introduced me to pickleball last year, I jumped headlong into it. And little did I know that it would be a sport that would unexpectedly fill a gap I didn't even know existed in my life. So, also 5 years ago, the pandemic, as challenging as it was, became my unexpected and unusual training camp. I was advising a few sports companies on their intellectual property registrations and tech contract negotiations in the EU, which also gave me insider's view or a front row seat, so as to say, to the common pain points of operating in this industry. Then there are films like King Richard, which chronicles Richard Williams' unyielding dedication to his daughters Venus and Serena, and Moneyball, depicting Billy Bean's innovative approach to baseball management, that have profoundly influenced my perspective on sports. Closer to home, movies such as 83, capturing India's unexpected Cricket World Cup victory, and Chak De India, focusing on women's empowerment through field hockey, have showcased the transformative power of sports to me in my life as well. So, beginning with this episode, we're kicking off our conversation regarding all things sports. From my perspective as a sustainability strategist with a specialization in IP and tech law. The main aim of this is to enable entrepreneurs in the sports industry so they can get more ideas to view sustainability as a business strategy. It's about how sports industry at large can shift gears to align with the global climate commitments. And this conversation right here is a great pre-race discussion that we'll develop all the way through the year with experts coming in to explore the multifaceted world of sports with you. Before we go any further, I would like you to take a beat to subscribe to the Lock, Stock and Barrel channel here on your platform so you never have to search for a topic manually. Once you hit the subscribe button, you will get notified for every fresh drop on the podcast straight to your home screen. And that way, you won't miss out on a single topic of your interest. All right, let's begin by talking numbers because they paint a really stark picture. Did you know that global football industry, just football, generates over 30 million metric tons of carbon dioxide annually? That's right, 30 million. To put that into perspective, that's equivalent of the entire annual carbon dioxide emissions of Denmark, the country Denmark. Think about that for a second. And in the US, an average NFL game pumps out roughly 20 metric ton of carbon dioxide every year. That's a lot of carbon for a few hours of entertainment. The scale of these events, the travel, the stadiums, the sheer volume of consumption, it all adds up. But it's not all bad news for sports. Here's where things get really interesting and also inspiring. This year, like I just mentioned, the pre race discussions at Formula One have been eye opening, focusing on the sport's commitment to sustainability. Formula One has pledged to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2030, which is a very bold ambition. And they're not just talking the talk. They've already managed a 13% reduction in their carbon footprint since 2018, which is real progress. I remember watching the Bahrain Grand Prix like most of you and being blown away by the discussions about their renewable energy initiatives. The Bahrain International Circuit has been a true leader in this sport. In the very first year, it generated over 5 million kilowatt hours of clean energy, offsetting over 3,000 tons of carbon. That's a tangible impact. It's not just about offsetting either, it's about fundamentally changing how these events operate. And one of the biggest challenges in sport today? The rising cost of energy. Operating stadiums is becoming increasingly expensive, and amateur teams in various sports have been feeling the pinch. Let's talk about England. One non league club from England told the BBC that the cost of living crisis poses the biggest threat to non league football since World War II. Even sides at the top of the food chain have taken note of this. Premier League champions like Manchester City are planning to install more than 10,000 solar panels at their training ground. This move will make it one of the largest producers of renewable energy in global football. If clubs take more ownership of their energy generation through renewables, they reduce reliance on external factors, which are political instability or fluctuating oil and gas prices, and that strengthens their long term resilience. Yet, energy production and usage are just one part of the sustainability puzzle. The financial bottom line and the wider impact on communities, the economy, and the environment all play a role in this conversation. For some, sustainability in sport is seen as a compromise, whether it is signing a lucrative partnership with an oil company or expanding a stadium's capacity. Commercial growth often clashes with environmental responsibility. And let's be honest, many organizations hesitate to embrace sustainability if they feel it could mean passing on major revenue streams. But sustainability isn't just about sacrifice. Done right, it creates value. This is where the concept of double materiality comes into play. On one side, there's financial materiality, was going to hit hardest on the bottom line. And on the other hand, there's impact materiality, how an organization affects the local community, the wider economy, and the planet. The most forward thinking clubs and leagues are beginning to recognize that these two are deeply connected. And whether they want it or not, sports organizations will have to start thinking about sustainability a lot more in the coming years. As you must have heard, the CSRD, or the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, now sets the standard for over 50,000 European Union companies, requiring them to report their climate and environmental impact. In some cases, this even extends to the UK and other jurisdictions as well, depending on the specific company operations in question. Failure to comply obviously comes with financial penalties. Cynics might argue that this is just bureaucratic red tape. But the reality? These regulations provide an opportunity to reassess priorities and align with what stakeholders, fans, sponsors, and governing bodies are increasingly demanding: sustainability. It's all part of an interconnected web. Sustainability isn't just about carbon footprints, it's about education, diversity, inclusion, and community engagement, things that are already at the core of most sports organizations' missions. These clubs and leagues have the chance to elevate their impact by seeing sustainability as more than just an obligation and considering it as an opportunity, one that must not be passed on. Even cities are stepping up. Take Seattle in the US, for example. The Climate Pledge Arena has achieved zero waste status by eliminating single use plastics and sourcing 100% renewable energy. Then there is the JC Arena in Amsterdam, a smart stadium that optimizes energy use with advanced management systems. These aren't just feel good stories. They're sound business decisions that future proof operations while reducing environmental impact. So, what does this mean for us? Is this just a trend or is there a deeper shift happening? Well, I believe it's the latter. The sports industry has a massive reach and a unique opportunity to lead the way in sustainability. And as fans, stakeholders, and communities demand more action. The smart move isn't resisting change, the smart move is embracing it. The most forward thinking sports businesses are using it to build stronger brands, attract investment, and future proof their operations. So, what could be one's next step? Whether it's tracking your carbon footprint, switching to greener materials, or engaging with your community, taking action today will keep you ahead of the game. If you're an entrepreneur in the sports industry, sustainability isn't just a trend for you, it's a game changer and a competitive advantage for you. Whether you're managing a club, developing a new sportswear brand, or overseeing event logistics, making sustainability a core part of your strategy can set you apart. My job as a sustainability strategist is to act as an overseer of the work of different verticals within a company to make a holistic strategy. Now, of course, if you want to get started on this journey and figure out the best strategy for your business yourself, then you can reach out to me for a conversation from the details in the show notes below. But to give you an idea of what the job entails, let me give you 5 actionable suggestions that you can begin incorporating today to make you more self reliant in the sports industry. All right, the first one: stay informed and be proactive. Let me talk to you about sustainability legislations. Think of regulations like the ever changing rules of the game. If you're not keeping up, you risk penalties, both financial and reputational. So, say for example, the European Commission CSRD that we talked about is already shaping how businesses disclose environmental impact. We'll, of course, discuss CSRD in a separate episode in much more depth. But for now, know that CSRD sets out a corporate due diligence duty for large companies to identify and address adverse human rights impacts, such as child labor, and environmental impacts, such as pollution, in their own operations, those of their subsidiaries, and in their chains of activities. Now, one should have an expert study the legislation carefully to assess the obligations under it as it applies to them, because it talks not only about their own operations but also about their subsidiaries and their chains of activities. Similarly, in the US, the SEC's proposed climate disclosure rules are pushing for more transparency. Imagine you're running a football or a pickleball club. Staying ahead of these changes means you won't be caught off guard when investors or sponsors ask for ESG reports from you. Ensure that your in house legal counsel and strategists are staying on top of updates. Ensure that you are regularly checking sites like the European Commission and the SEC, or you're joining industry bodies like the Green Sports Alliance to anticipate regulatory shifts that might disrupt or impact your business adversely in the future. The second, integrate sustainability into core operations. Don't treat it as a side project. Sustainability should be built into how you run your business. So, say for instance, take Tottenham Hotspurs. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is a great case study for somebody who wants to run a business with 100% renewable energy and zero single use plastic. The Tottenham Hotspurs Club even installed a retractable pitch to host NFL games, maximizing resource efficiency. Similarly, the Australian Open introduced recyclable ball cans and water stations to reduce plastic waste. So, if you're organizing sporting events or managing a venue, think about three main things in this regard: energy efficiency. So, think of switches to renewable energy like solar or wind. Then, waste management. Are there ways to cut single use plastics or upcycle materials? And finally, sustainable merchandise. Could your team jerseys be made from recycled fabrics like kits made from plastic bottles? And if you can just think of these three basic things while organizing a sporting event or managing a venue, then you might be in good stead already. The third one would be enhancing transparency and reporting criteria within your organization. This is a really important point because, as you know, fans and investors expect honesty. If you say you're sustainable, you need the data to back it up. Formula One's net zero carbon by 2030 plan includes a clause that makes tracking carbon dioxide emissions across every race mandatory. They publish reports on emissions, energy use, and even fan travel impact. Without clear reporting, sustainability claims can fall into greenwashing trap, which can lead to legal trouble. So to build credibility, use recognized ESG reporting frameworks like GRI or SASB, the Global Reporting Initiative or Sustainability Accounting Standards Boards, and invest in data tracking systems to monitor energy, waste, and carbon emissions. You want to see the best practices in action? Check out F1 Sustainability Report for real world insights that I'm going to link in the description box below for you. The fourth one would be to engage stakeholders efficiently. Sustainability works best when it's a team effort, whether it's fans, sponsors, or local communities. Getting them involved strengthens your impact. And there are many successful examples from the sports industries that have done it. But for example, here, Forest Green Rovers became the world's first vegan carbon neutral football club. And they didn't just make operational changes, they brought their fans along for the ride. By serving only plant based food at matches, they educated and engaged their supporters in sustainability and brought about more awareness of their environmental impact. Consider how you can partner with your sponsors. on, let's say, eco-friendly campaigns. So, for example, look at Heineken's reusable beer cups at stadiums, which makes for a successful eco-friendly campaign. Then you can educate fans through interactive sustainability challenges. For example, have rewards for taking public transport to games, like a lot of concerts are doing these days. Then you can also work with local governments to support green infrastructure projects around your venues. And if you do just these three things that I've just mentioned, you will have effectively engaged all three major stakeholders: the sponsors, the fans, as well as the governments. And finally, if you're in a position to do so right now, seek specialized expertise. The emerging body of legislation is complex, as they are aimed at changing the way businesses have imagined themselves till now. They are being brought in with an aim to bring everyone in the fold of accountability for the planet, and missteps in acknowledging and implementing these legislations can be costly for any entrepreneur in any industry. Bringing in experts who understand the intersection of the sports industry, the environment, legislations, and strategies can save you many a headaches and many a heartaches. For example, the Premier League partnered with sustainability consultants to assess each club's carbon footprint and identify opportunities for greener operations in the coming years. Likewise, even sportswear brands work with environmental lawyers to ensure their sustainable materials comply with evolving regulations and do not hamper their brand partnerships. I'll link the last episode in the description box below, where I talk about some of the pioneer brands like Patagonia, Worry, and Pangaya in this segment. But there are many others like Adidas, Girlfriend Collective, On, Vod, and Tala that are doing great work in research and innovation, as well as in working with experts to ensure that they don't end up greenwashing. If you're unsure how regulations apply to you, the best and the safest and even the cheapest way for you, even though you might disagree at the moment, is to consult a subject matter expert. In the long run, you will realize that the cost benefit analysis will give you favorable results if you work with experts from the word go to save millions of dollars in fines and unlock innovative opportunities to not just gain a competitive edge in the market, but also to make more dollars sustainably. As we wrap up this deep dive into sustainability in the sports industry, I want to leave you with something to think about. The legendary Michael Jordan once said, "The minute you get away from fundamentals, whether it's proper technique, work ethic, or mental preparation, the bottom can fall out of your game, your schoolwork, your job, absolutely whatever you're doing." This applies just as much to sustainability as it does to sports. The fundamentals: understanding your regulations, integrating sustainable practices, transparent reporting, stakeholder engagement, and seeking expert guidance are what will set you apart in the winner category in this evolving landscape. Those who get ahead of the curve now will not only future-proof their businesses, but will also be the ones leading the charge towards a more responsible and resilient sports industry. If you're listening to this and thinking, where do I start? You're not alone. This is a complex, multi-layered challenge. But the good news is, you don't have to tackle it alone. Get more education and consult a strategist who can be your roadie in your entrepreneurial journey to create tailored, practical, and legally sound sustainability strategies that make business sense for you. And if you're ready to take the next step with an expert full-time, whether it's integrating sustainability into your operations, ensuring regulatory compliance, or positioning your brand as a leader in this space, let's have a conversation. You'll find my contact details in the show notes below, and I'd love to explore how we can future-proof your business together. And yes, if you found value in this episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and come back here to meet me so you and I can get into the right mindset so we can make the more responsible choice in conducting business. If you haven't noticed yet, Each episode of the LTB podcast has a dedicated page of resources that will help you make a deep dive into each topic and have conversations around it. Find these on Substack and LinkedIn, where the Lock, Stock and Barrel newsletter is published weekly. So join the growing LTB community there to get the most juice out of each episode. Alright, with that little concluding bit, this is Chani Srivastav signing off from the Lock, Stock and Barrel podcast. Until next time, remember that in the game of sustainability, strategy is everything.